So I'm here today to talk to you about Falcon Metals. So we're a Victorian-based exploration company, primarily known initially for gold, but we have made a pretty incredible mineral sands discovery this year, which is getting a bit of attention. So I'll focus mostly on that today, given it's a New World Metals conference, but then I'll touch on the gold and then our WA project, which we're going to be drilling very shortly. So there's the standard industry disclaimer. So Falcon Metals, Pyramid Hill is our flagship asset, is what we listed with. It's a very large prospective ground holding in the Bendigo zone, so it's obviously very well known for its gold. But there's also a mineral sands province up the north end of that part of the world with the Murray Basin, and there's several large mineral sands deposits at advanced stages. We took a look at our mineral sands potential and made a very good discovery, a very high-grade mineral sands discovery, which I'll talk about. I'll just touch briefly on the gold, and then I'll get on to our Mount Jackson project, which is we're going to be drilling that imminently, and this is gold and base metals in Southern Cross. And as Chrissy said, it's never been drilled before, so it's a very exciting project. I won't talk about our joint ventures today, but I'll be at the booth around the corner, so please drop by and have a chat if you want to talk about anything else today. Quick corporate snapshot. So a very good register. We have Tim Goyder with just over 8%, Franklin Templeton just over 7%, and Goldman Sachs with just over 6%. Share price last traded at around 24 cents. That gives us a market cap of just in the low 40s. And as Chrissy said, we're extremely well funded. We still have 11.8 million in the bank as of June. And in this market, I think that's a very precious asset. And it has enabled us to be quite creative with what we do. And it's good to have that cash in the bank. I'll just quickly touch on the board. Mark Bennett is the chairman, probably well known to most of you in this room. He's been an incredibly successful explorationist with multiple discoveries, the most famous of which being the Nova Bollinger nickel deposit in WA, which IGO took over for nearly $2 billion a couple of years ago now. He now lives in Melbourne, so it's great to have Mark Bennett in town to be able to draw upon his experience. We also have Alex Dorsch on the board, and I'm sure many of you would know Alex as well. So he's the MD of Chalice. He was the MD when they discovered Julimar. But importantly for Falcon, he was the guy that originally pegged the Pyramid Hill Gold Project for Chalice back in the day, just before they vended it into Falcon and we spun out of Chalice nearly 3 years ago now. So it's great to have Alex on board. He's obviously very passionate about Pyramid Hill and is a great non-executive. Talking about good non-executives, we have Katina Law on the board. She's a very experienced finance director. And joining me on the executive team, we have Pradeep, who's a very experienced company CFO and company secretary. And Doug Windsor is our exploration geologist. So he's a Bendigo born and bred geologist. He spent his career all around the world with BHP and companies like that before coming back to Australia, working with IGO in the Kimberleys and Northern Territory, looking for nickel, and now he's come home to Bendigo to help us find the big one, and he's doing a great job. So I think we have an excellent team at Falcon. Now on to the mineral sands. So this is what we've called it the Farrelly deposit. So it's a very high-grade mineral sands discovery. It's up about 80 or 90 kilometres northwest of Bendigo in the Murray Basin area, and that's what it looks like. Very flat country with very few trees and big sort of broadacre farms. So given I'm the only mineral sands company presenting today, I just thought I'd quickly touch on what is a mineral sands deposit and what are the commodities. So obviously it's hosted in sand, and you need high concentrations of these three products. One of them is zircon. You also have titanium minerals, and you also have something called monazite. So zircon is a zirconium silicate mineral. It's got some very good properties. In fact, it's very hard, so it's used in ceramics and construction as coatings and glazings because it's got a very high melting temperature. It's used in foundries, and it's also got some good chemical properties. So it's got a wide-ranging use in chemistry and in industrial uses. The titanium minerals are probably a bit more well-known. The ilmenite, rutile, and leucoxene. They all have various amounts of titanium in them, with rutile being the most pure and the most prized. And titanium dioxide is used primarily as a paint pigment, so it's a very ubiquitous, in-demand commodity, but it's also used to make titanium metal, and obviously titanium metal is very strong and very light, and it's a very useful metal in today's day and age. And it's also got uses in welding as well. Now, monazite's the interesting one. This is a bit of a game changer one. It's a phosphate mineral that you do get in Minal Sands, and it does contain very high quantities of rare earth elements. Back in the day, it was seen as a bit of a waste product and an annoying thing to get rid of, and Iluka famously put them in their stockpiles and their waste dumps and buried them away because they didn't know what to do with them. And now Iluka's building a $1 billion plant in WA to process all the monazite that they've got stockpiled around because the rare earth elements are so valuable. And there's also been a few strategic deals that have happened in the monazite space where you've had a US company called Energy Fuels take over Base Resources, which is an ASX-listed mineral sands company with mines in Africa. They've taken them over and taken them off the market, and they've also done a deal with the Victorian mineral sands company purely to get access to the monazite. So monazite's now become a very important strategic mineral and in demand, and obviously for the rare earth elements that are used for EVs, renewables, electronics, etc. Now, I've put up some price charts there just to give you an idea of the value of these commodities. So zircon and rutile and their final product are about $2,000 US a tonne or so, and they've been trading around that range. And monazite, a bit harder to get a price in monazite, but it's around $5,000 US a tonne for a tonne of monazite. So again, it's becoming a more strategic commodity. So on to the Farrelly discovery itself. So what we have here is our permits. The dark blue permits are ours, and you can see that there's a big structural corridor going up up the middle where the gold deposits are, and we've got these permits to the northwest over here, where there really isn't that much gold potential. But there is mineral sands potential, and you can see there's several mineral sands deposits that I've flagged. There's the Wim Resource Wedderburn deposit, VHM and ACDC with their Goshen deposits, and Iluka have a few retention licences on resources that they're looking to develop at some stage in the future. Now, we saw that we were surrounded by these mineral sands deposits. We realised there wasn't much gold there, so we started doing a bit of ferreting around through the Mines Department records just to see what previous drilling had been done on our ground. And we found there was some drilling that's been done, that people had discovered mineral sands on our licences. Most of it was sort of lowish grade, except for one drill hole that CRA drilled in the 1980s, which had 6 metres at 18% THM, which is total heavy minerals. Now, that's a very high grade intercept. So we looked at that and thought it was a bit unusual that CRA didn't really seem to do much follow-up. They didn't do any mineralogy on it. So we did 2 holes either side of that drill hole, and we got these absolutely cracking results of more than 10 metres of more than 10% THM in these 2 holes. We did some mineral assemblage work thinking this is too good to be true, and sure enough we got very nice values of zircon, ilmenite, rutile, all those minerals I just explained to you. So it looked like the real deal to us, but we just didn't know how big it was. So when we realised we had something here, we drilled 91 additional holes, and that resulted in the high-grade Farrelly discovery, which we announced in May 2024. And this is what it looks like. You can see here it's this red patch of high-grade intercepts just there. So of the 91 holes we drilled in May, 33 of them had intercepts of greater than 10% THM, total heavy minerals, and 11 of them contained intercepts greater than 20% THM. So these are very high-grade results for mineral sands, when if you looked at that previous map, most of our peers are sort of in the 2 to 4% range for their resources. This isn't a real resource yet, we're just looking at drill results, but we are getting very high-grade results. So we have a thick continuous zone of high-grade mineralisation that's 1.2 kilometres by 600 metres in size, and it looks to be open in a couple of directions. In fact, to the northwest and the northeast, we have some of our best holes. So this looks like it's going to get quite a lot bigger. So we do need to do more drilling. So planning for this extensional drilling is underway, and this drilling is subject to cropping, land access and weather. Now, we don't currently have land access, but we are continuing to engage with the land owners to get that access, and we hope to be on the ground as soon as possible. And this just to show you how good these results are. I'm not going to go through these numbers. They're just to blow you away with how awesome they are, but there's a list of all the drill results we got in the core of that Farrelly main zone, with all those very broad high-grade THM results. And this is what it looks like in cross-section. Now, this has got a 10 times vertical exaggeration on it, so you sort of need that to be able to really get a feel for what we have here. You can see this red zone, that's the 10% halo, so everything inside that is 10% or greater in grade, and then we have quite a broad 1% halo around it, but we really are focused on that 1.2 kilometre wide high-grade zone, and where it goes to the northwest and the northeast, and hopefully, as I said, it keeps going and gets a lot bigger. So after we got those really good results, the next step is to do some metallurgy. So we did what's called a CITA test. So this is the first pass work where you just want to make sure that you can get a concentrate from the mineral sands and there aren't any sort of red flags processing-wise. So we got a 65 kilo sample, that graded 12.2%, which is obviously a very high grade. And we just put it over a shaking table and did some preliminary screening work on it just to really check its properties. Now, fortunately, we got very good results. We were able to produce a heavy mineral concentrate from conventional processing methods. So there's tick 1. We got good recoveries of the zircon, the ilmenite, the rutile, and the monazite in the test work into a concentrate, which is tick 2. Now, these ones, the next one's very important. Our grain size is coarser than the other Victorian deposits as far as we can tell. So that is a very positive thing. A lot of the other Victorian deposits are looking at the sub 38 micron superfine fraction to really eke out every last bit of heavy mineral concentrate from their ore. Ours is a bit coarser, so we don't really have very much at all reporting to that superfine fraction. Now that's a very good thing because it should mean a much more simplified processing route, and it should mean higher recoveries because we don't have to worry about that really fine stuff. So and plus our head grade is high anyway, so we're in a very advantageous position, I think. And a bit of a technical one, but something that's very important is how your slimes behave, which is the waste product, the very fine waste product. You want to be able to take that off, separate them from the water from the clay, and dry the clay out and put it back because you rehabilitate as you mine. So we're expecting absolutely no issues with the slimes, and we've got a very big tick from the lab on the quality of that slime. So that's another big tick for us. Now the next steps, we need to have a closer look at the products. So we're doing what's called a QEM scan. That's basically a fancy term for a scanning electron microscope. This just really looks at each of the individual grains of the zircon, the ilmenites, the rutiles, the monazites, and really just probes them to see how good they are and how pure they are, and will they be something that customers around the world will want to buy. So that's something we're doing next. So we should have those results in a couple of months. We're also very interested to look at the rare earth element content of that monazite to see because that will be a very important part of the product mix. And then subsequent to more drilling, we will be doing more bulk test work, and we really need to burrow down into the recoveries and get some real numbers of this and understand how it recovers and what the actual head grades of the zircon, ilmenite, rutile, monazite, etc. will be. So there's a lot more work to do on this, but at this stage it's looking like a very interesting high-grade discovery. And then bigger picture here, are there any more Farrellys? Now the Farrelly deposit is in the bottom corner here in the blue. That's where we'll be doing our extensional drilling. And all these red boxes are areas that we feel haven't been adequately explored historically. So we'll be going back there and doing some roadside drilling on broad spacing, really just to see, now that we've got the knowledge of what a Farrelly looks like, are there any more of these that have been missed by the previous explorers? So that'll be work that will be hopefully happening over the next in the next drill season over summer. So that's Farrelly. Look, I'll just quickly touch on our gold deposit because we have done our gold project because we have done a lot of work on that over the last couple of years. So as I said, those dark blue permits are ours. That corridor up the middle where those white red dots are, they're our prospects that we've been proving up along that structural corridor. We're drilling under the Murray Basin here, which is above that red dash line, looking for what will hopefully be a buried Bendigo or Fosterville style gold deposit, because there's a lot of gold mined from Bendigo and Fosterville. These are monster high-grade ore bodies, and we're really looking to find one of those under that Murray Basin cover. So we've done more than 200,000 metres of air core drilling at Pyramid Hill. We've over 150 kilometres of strike length. This is a big regional scale exploration program that we've been doing, and I won't go through them, but we've got a whole lot of prospects there that Eddington, Pyramid Hill, Carry, etc., where we've got very high-grade hits from our air core drilling, and it really is about a matter of just working on these prospects, doing more drilling, continuing the screening, and really seeing if we can unearth the next Bendigo or Fosterville, because if we do, it'll be a major thing for Victoria. Now I am running out of time here, but I'll just quickly touch on Mount Jackson. This is that undrilled greenstone belt 110 kilometres north of Southern Cross. Never been worked on before. Southern Cross is a well-endowed belt with 15 million ounces of gold and nearly 400,000 tonnes of nickel from the Forrestania part of it. We've got an asset here where we've done preliminary soil sampling. We've got a very large gold soil sample anomaly here that we're going to do air core drilling on in the next month. We're just waiting on heritage clearing. We expect to be drilling here very soon. There's a large coincident EM anomaly over it as well, so if it is gold, it's probably associated with sulfides. So that drilling will be happening in the next month. And importantly, we've got some base metal targets in the south here. And what we have here are 3 very high conductance EM plates with up to 17,000 Siemens. So they are absolutely ripping targets for nickel and copper. So we'll be drilling those as well when we do the air core drilling on the gold. We'll be doing RC drilling on these EM plates to see if we don't have another nickel deposit in the Southern Cross Belt. And as I said, that work will be happening hopefully within the next month. So that's it. Great team. I think we've got some great assets. We've made a high-grade Minal Sands discovery. We've got drilling happening in WA that could be really high impact shortly. And importantly, we've got the cash to do it. So thanks very much.